I was in a new city. A week in, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Hey, service is at 3. Wear something dark." She hated bright colors. "I know you didn't know her well, but it would mean a lot if you came." I stared at it. I wasn't sure who it was meant for, but it felt urgent. Like maybe they really needed someone there. And I had nothing else to do. So, I went. I pulled up to the church a few minutes early. Sat in the back. No one questioned me. I figured maybe it was a distant coworker or a college friend. I kept waiting for someone to say, "Wait, who are you?" But they didn't. The woman who had passed, her name was Marion, had the kindest smile I've ever seen. I learned about her love for jazz, her cat named Newton, and how she never let anyone leave her house without taking a cookie. I sat through every eulogy like I'd known her forever. Afterward, during the gathering, her grandmother approached me. "You were her friend from art class, weren't you?" she asked. I froze. "No. I think I got the wrong text." She laughed. Actually, laughed. "So you're just here? For a stranger?" I nodded. Didn't want her to have an empty room. She grabbed my hand and said, "Then you're exactly the kind of person she would have liked." We sat together for hours, talking about Marion, about grief, about weird coincidences. Before I left, her grandma gave me a small velvet pouch. "Take this," she said. "Marion would have insisted you didn't leave empty-handed." Inside was a single sugar cookie, shaped like a heart. A year later, her grandmother still sends me a birthday card, always with a cookie recipe inside. I send her a handwritten thank you every time. I don't know why I went that day, but I'm glad I did. Sometimes the wrong funeral is exactly where you're meant to be.
This honestly feels like it belongs in a movie, but I swear every word is real. 3 years ago, my mom passed away after a long battle with cancer. She was my best friend. We used to bond over books. Weekends meant library visits, iced tea, and arguments about who got to check out the newest releases first. Last weekend, I went to our old public library. I hadn't been there since her funeral. It was kind of a spur-of-the-moment thing. I was feeling off, and something in me just wanted to be somewhere familiar. I wandered the shelves aimlessly and picked out a random book from the fiction section. It wasn't even something I'd usually read. I sat down and flipped through it, and halfway in, something fell out. It was a folded piece of floral stationery, the kind my mom used to write on. I immediately recognized her handwriting. It read, "To whoever finds this. I hope this book finds you at the right time. I hope you feel less alone today. I hope you know someone out there believes you're stronger than you think. And if it's my daughter reading this, hi, sweetheart. I love you more than all the words in all the books in the world. Keep going. You're doing better than you know." Mom. I couldn't breathe. I genuinely thought I was hallucinating. But it was hers. Her handwriting. Her words. And that exact sentence about all the words in all the books, it was something she used to say to me when I was little. I asked the librarian if they knew where the book came from. She said it had been sitting in the system for years. Checked out once in 2020, never again. That's the year she passed. I cried the whole way home. I don't know if she meant for me to find it. Or if she just left pieces of herself behind for someone. But somehow, the universe made sure it found its way back to me. TLDR, found a handwritten note from my late mom inside a random library book, years after she passed. It was exactly what I needed to hear. I grew up in a small town in Arizona where I met my soon-to-be best friend, Riley. His parents were also divorced, but his family was pretty well off. His dad owned a restaurant in Phoenix and drove really nice vehicles and owned property in Mexico where the family went for vacation a few times a year. His mom worked at a casino at a blackjack table and made crazy tips. I pretty much grew up at their house, and she would come home at like 2 a.m. with a few $100 in cash sometimes. Then there's my family. Both parents are alcoholics riding the poverty line. We didn't celebrate any holidays and our vacations were going to Arizona Mills in the Valley to get new shoes and eat in and out. My mom was a dispatcher and then later a housekeeper. My dad couldn't stop drinking and driving, so he left the state to avoid prison time. Needless to say, Riley's house was awesome to me. I practically grew up there, and in high school I started going with he and his dad's family to Mexico in spring and summer breaks. His dad's restaurant was so damn good. We'd pull up on our bikes and they'd just give us whatever we wanted. It honestly, to me, seemed like Riley had it all. He was going to inherit the restaurant. His dad bought him his first car and told him he'd buy him his first house. I won't lie, I did feel jealous sometimes. Then at the end of high school my family moved away, and just like that it's like all my time with Riley was a dream. Never heard from or saw him again. It wasn't surprising as towards the end of high school he made other friends and stopped hanging out with me almost entirely. I wish I could say my life got better, but I was about to find out everything the hard way. I got kicked out at 18, reconnected with my father, and it turns out he's a bad guy. I was homeless for 6 months. Moved back to my mother's, and not too long after I was homeless living in the basement of a bar. I sometimes would think about Riley. I thought that he's helping running the family restaurant, probably has a stable living situation. Maybe a wife and kids? Who knows, but I knew I wasn't doing well. I was depressed and attempted to end my life on more than one occasion, as most recently as 5 years ago. 4 years ago I moved back to Arizona. My life slowly improved. I have a really good job, friends, an amazing girlfriend that I can't imagine life without. I'm better educated about finances and mental health. I feel really good and I'm proud of what I've done to get to this better place. A few months ago my brother texts me and says that he ran into Riley by complete chance at a truck stop outside of Phoenix. He gave him my number and said Riley would love to reconnect. Soon he and I were texting and made plans to meet. A few weeks ago I met him at a bar and I was surprised to see how he almost hasn't changed his appearance since school. Then we start catching up, and over the course of the night I learned that it's as if we swapped lives. After high school he started growing weed and got caught trying to sell it. He spent a year in jail for that. He got on probation and immediately started growing and selling again and got caught again and spent a few more years behind bars. He missed his sister's wedding and his father refused to speak to him until he was diagnosed with cancer, which he succumbed to in 2015, while Riley was in prison. He said it emotionally destroyed him. His sister ran the family restaurant and he now runs it with her, but COVID did a number to their business and he had to pick up another job to avoid losing the business. He developed a gambling problem and lost his first house and second house and still owes an obscene amount of money from that. His mother died in 2022 from cancer and then his grandmother recently. A few things I picked up that night was that he has a drinking problem. He says he can't fall asleep without it. That made me move us away from the bar and we just kinda walked around downtown Phoenix and continued our conversation over food. He was also oddly surprised that I was doing better than he thought I was. I almost think that he only wanted to hang out thinking my life was still such a mess so he could feel better about his. He's basically living on the edge of bankruptcy and the only family he really has left is his sister, and he's burned her so much that she keeps him at arm's length. And I understand where she's coming from. From my perspective this guy had a future set up and he pissed all over it. So that's my story. It wasn't the happy reunion I was low-key expecting and feel awful for him. But, like he admitted to me, it stems from his poor choices. I've also decided to not pursue a rekindled friendship with him. At the end of the day he and I are wildly different people than we were 20 years ago. I don't think there's anything there and I hope him the best. I really, truly hope he gets his shit together. During high school, I had this weird double life that most people couldn't really wrap their heads around. My mom worked 2 jobs and couldn't be home during the week, so from Monday to Friday I stayed with my grandma on the south side of Chicago. 79th and Cottage Grove. Not the worst block, but definitely not the safest. Every Monday morning I'd ride the CTA bus to school with kids who were already lighting up blunts before 8 a.m. Fights in the hallway were a daily event. Teachers looked like they were 2 bad days away from quitting. I didn't really fit in, but I learned quick to keep my mouth shut and my head down. I made a few friends, quiet kids, smart, but tired of surviving. On the weekends, though? Whole different world. I'd go back up north to the suburbs, where my dad lived. Clean streets, 2-car garage, families walking dogs and waving at neighbors. I'd hit the mall, eat Chipotle, and watch Netflix with my younger siblings like I wasn't just dodging drama and gunshots 48 hours earlier. It was like living in 2 completely different universes. No one in the suburbs ever really knew what I dealt with down there. And no one on the south side ever believed I had a backyard and a trampoline up north. Anyway, one Thursday after school, I was walking back to my grandma's house and I saw a group of guys posted up on the corner. I recognized one of them, Malik, from school. We'd had a couple classes together. He waved me over and I made the mistake of walking toward him. He pulls me in, all casual, and says, "You know how to drive, right?" I did. Barely. He tosses me a key and says, "Pull the Hellcat around the block. Real quick. Just move it." I knew something felt off. Real off. But I was 16, dumb, and didn't want to look soft. So I did it. I get in the car and start it. Pull it around the block and park it where he said. When I get out, he daps me up, says, "Appreciate it, bro. We cool." Then walks off. I go home like nothing happened. The next day, there are cops outside the school. Word is someone dropped a dime on Malik. Apparently, that charger was linked to a robbery that happened earlier that week. I didn't get called in. No one mentioned my name. But I didn't sleep for 2 days. I thought I was done for. When the weekend came, I packed my stuff and rode up north. I walked in my dad's house like I hadn't just played getaway driver for a guy who probably had a body on his record. My little sister ran up and hugged me like usual. Dad grilled burgers. I sat there in the backyard, birds chirping, thinking about the fact that 48 hours ago I might have helped someone commit a felony. Now here's the twist, months later, Malik shows up in the suburbs. At my cousin's birthday party. Wearing a dress shirt. Apparently, his aunt lives 2 blocks from my dad's house and he'd been spending weekends up there too. Same split life. Same code switching. He looked at me across the yard and just started laughing. Said, "Damn bro, I thought I was the only one living that double life." We never talked about the car again.